皆さん、こんにちは。ユタ大学の、日本にいる担当、マイク・シューベンと申します。よろしくお願いします。今日こんなにいい天気の日にここで過ごすのは本当にありがたいです。これ終わってから遊びに行けるので、ちょっと、yes、来てください。I am going to do my presentation in English, but なんかもちろん質問があれば、日本語でチャットとか Q&A のところに全然日本語で言っても大丈夫です。All right. So, the University of Utah, a top public university in Salt Lake City, Utah. The first thing I want to do as part of the presentation is just show a short video to kind of introduce you to campus, let you get an idea of what the campus of University of Utah is like, and then we can talk a lot more about information about the school. So please enjoy this short video of the University of Utah campus.
Welcome to Imagine You. 1,534 acres of you can achieve anything. Here, the state's most distinguished faculty does more than simply transfer knowledge. They inspire new generations of thought leaders, creative thinkers, problem solvers, and community healers. It's a place where humanity in all its diversity is celebrated, and humanities as a discipline is still championed. We are, after all, a place of higher learning. You see a collection of buildings, steel, concrete, brick, and glass, some old, some new. But inside these buildings, there are no ceilings for your ideas, no walls for your dreams. So come and let your imagination do what it was meant to do. Fly.
All right, so very dramatic introduction to the campus of the University of Utah, but as you can see, quite a large school. As the guy said, many buildings, some old, some new, but a lot to experience on campus. So why the U, as we call it? So academically, it's a very good university, top 100 university in the US, top 50 public university in the US. Even though it's a larger university, there are plenty of small classes, lots of opportunities to make connections with your professors, talk to other students, no matter what you want to study. Lots of different programs available, which we'll talk about. In terms of internships and job opportunities, the university has excellent connections with companies in the Salt Lake City area. Salt Lake City is a very up-and-coming location for job growth. So I think most people don't always think about Salt Lake, or probably don't think about Salt Lake, think about New York and Los Angeles. But there are plenty of opportunities in Utah and in Salt Lake City. Lots to do on campus. We'll talk more about this later, but hundreds of clubs and organizations and different activities that you can get involved with to stay busy outside of class and meet new people and make all kinds of friends. Utah has a very vast alumni network. So again, along with the opportunities that are available, it's very easy to, as a University of Utah student, as a University of Utah graduate, network with previous students and find lots of opportunities there. So, I want to talk a little bit about Salt Lake City, because I think it's probably not a city that is, when you think about the United States, probably not the first city that comes to mind, but there's a lot that Utah and Salt Lake City have to offer. So, Salt Lake City, for one, it is a great state, Utah is a great state for business. Again, most people probably don't think about it like that. Probably think about New York and LA and Chicago and Boston. But Salt Lake, lots of business opportunities, especially for new graduates. Utah is a very beautiful state. I'll show you in a second. There are a bunch of national parks that you can visit, all different kinds of outdoor activities that you can do. Salt Lake City itself, while it's not, it's not a huge city, it's not New York, it's not Chicago, it's not LA, but it is a big city and there's plenty to do there. On the campus, you're only a short, 7 to 10 minute train or bus ride away from downtown. There's all kinds of things to do downtown. There's all kinds of things to do around Salt Lake, especially if you like the outdoors, if you like skiing, if you like snowboarding, mountain biking, hiking, all different kinds of things to do outside of campus. Let's talk a little bit about what Utah has to offer. So Utah has professional sports. There's a professional basketball team. There's a professional soccer team. You can certainly go see either of these teams play. There's plenty of shopping all around Salt Lake City, like you'd expect in any big city. There's malls, there's smaller boutique shops, many different places to do shopping in Salt Lake. There are plenty of restaurants, all different kinds of food, especially Mexican food, if you like that. Mexican food in Salt Lake City is excellent. And there are even Japanese restaurants. See on the right side, kind of your typical American style sushi, certainly not the same as nigiri that we generally eat here, but interesting in its own right, even if it's not completely authentic. But lots of different food options in Salt Lake, pretty much anything you want to eat. Public transportation is available throughout Salt Lake City. So see here the one of the kind of, they call it a tram that runs on tracks, but I tried to highlight on the map here, point to where the university is, where you see the U, and there are 3 different train lines that go directly from the university to all different parts of the city. So it's very, very easy to get around. In addition to this tram, there are also buses that can take you all over the place. And then of course, Uber and things like that. So it's very, very easy to get around the city. It's very, very easy to get around campus. So, it's not like you have to walk everywhere all the time. Transportation is very easy in Salt Lake City. And yeah, for Utah, so I mentioned earlier, there are 5 beautiful national parks in Utah. Certainly not something you do, every day, like on a Tuesday after class, but these are all about 3.5 to 5 hours by car from campus. So, when you want to get away, when you want to go experience some nature, you can take a trip to any of these beautiful parks and, go hiking, go biking, do all different kinds of activities outside. A little bit closer to campus, there's Antelope Island, which is a great place to see real life bison, which are very, very rare in America these days. Well, rare anywhere, but this is only about an hour from campus by car. So this is kind of more of an easy trip, as opposed to the parks. This is something cool that you can do with your friends, on a weekend, maybe even, a weekday if you don't have much going on. A very cool kind of unique thing to the western part of the United States. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Utah is not that far away from Las Vegas. It's not that far away from Los Angeles. So, on a weekend, maybe a long weekend, you could take a trip down to Vegas. It's only about 6 hours by car or only about an hour by plane, or even Los Angeles. It's only about 2 hours by plane. And the airport in Salt Lake City is only about 15 to 20 minutes away from campus. So very easy access to the airport. So yeah, even though, Salt Lake isn't the city that everybody thinks of, you have very easy access to a lot of, kind of more famous cities in the US. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the university. So I mentioned earlier that University of Utah is a top 100 university, just inside the top 100, ranked number 99 overall. That's among all the universities in the US, so top 5%. Within that ranking, there are specific programs that are all very good at the university: computer science, business, engineering. Talk more about all of these. An excellent program for video game design and development, hundreds of student clubs and organizations, and a pretty good international student population. So, I mean, I'm certainly working to send more and more international students from both Japan and other countries around Asia. But the international student population at Utah, there are about 30,000 students, sanmanin, in total at university, about 2,800 to 3,000 international students. So a good number of international students from many, many different parts of the world at University of Utah. Here is a list of all of the different degrees that the university offers. So this actually, it's 2 slides, this and this, a very long list of different programs. So pretty much, I'm not going to read all of these, but pretty much no matter what you want to study, the University of Utah almost definitely offers that program. Many, many different programs available. In addition, University of Utah at the undergraduate level has many, many different STEM degrees. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And this is very important for students who want to work in the US after graduation, because if you do a STEM degree, you can work for up to 3 years on your student visa in the US without getting work visa sponsorship. So many students are interested in doing a STEM degree. What's unique about University of Utah is that, of course, engineering, it's in the name, science, it's in the name, all these degrees. University of Utah has three STEM designated business degrees. So information systems, operations management, and business analytics. These are 3 business STEM degrees, which is pretty rare. Usually business degrees are not STEM designated, but Utah offers 3 of them. So talking more about the School of Business, so probably at Utah, it's probably the highest ranked school in the university. So the business programs at Utah are ranked 41st in the US. So again, that's out of many, 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 many universities, literally thousands of universities. Utah is a top 50 business school. And there are many different concentrations of business that you can study. So of course, accounting, marketing, information systems that I just mentioned, business administration, but the real highlight, I guess, or the real, crown jewel of the business program at University of Utah is this entrepreneurship program, which is top 10 in the US. So entrepreneurship in Japanese, it's kigyogaku. And, if you're a student who is interested in starting your own business, in learning how to run your own business, entrepreneurship is the degree that you want to study. And at University of Utah, it is an excellent, excellent program. A lot of that has to do with Lasan Studios. So Lasan Studios, it's a center on campus. It's kind of like a sort of a center for innovation and sort of a incubator, if you will, for kind of startup companies run by students. So it's a big space with many, many different facilities, many, many different tools that are available to students that you can use to basically create a business while you're still studying and have the experience of, launching and running your own business. I have a cool video that I'm going to share with you where 3 different students talk about their experience. And you can see just kind of, all of the different facilities and tools that they have access to and all of the different interactions between students that go on at Lasan. So let me share that video with you guys now.
When I first started college, I wouldn't have considered myself an entrepreneur. I come from a performing arts background and I started in the chemical engineering program. About a week after being involved with the Lasan Institute, I changed my major to entrepreneurship. I really love collaboration and innovation, and the Lasan Institute is perfect for that.
It's all about you, the students. You're the people who are going to make it alive. You're going to make it exciting, creative, electric, all at once.
Lasan Studios is different from anywhere else because it gives students the tools and resources they need to change the world.
My name is Kelly Watts, and I'm the founder and CEO of Girl Gang, which is a vintage clothing company big problem I notice right now with the fashion industry is that big stores are based around fast fashion and getting like the latest trends in stores as fast as possible. So I wanted to sort of take a step back and create something that allows people to express themselves in a more original way. To me, entrepreneurship is finding a way to make a lifestyle out of your passions and making your passions sustainable into something that, you know, you wake up and go to work and you don't feel like you're working because what you're doing is what you love.
I noticed that college was the least social it had been since 1987, and so that's the problem that I wanted to solve. My name is Ryan Bliss, and I'm the original founder of Hashtaggy, which is a social media application that's trying to connect college students to every single thing that they care about on their campus. I just love the idea of a community where all of these entrepreneurs could get together and unite under a similar purpose of just creating things that'll change the world and will better the lives of even just their communities.
And we can tell you that there is no other facility like this in the world right now. You will be proud to see what happens here.
Right. Yes, so I always love sharing that video to hear the three students talk about their experience. You see all the different collaboration that goes on at Lassonde Studios, and you don't even have to be an entrepreneurship student to get experience here. There are students from other majors working together as well. Maybe, computer science majors or graphic design majors helping build a website for the students who are interested in starting their own business. So many different things go on at Lassonde. And you saw with the last student, Ryan, him in his little office space that he has to run his business. There are a bunch of those available where, you kind of set up your own office, and it's really like you're in charge of your own company, while at the same time, you're still a student. Here's just a few more pictures of Lassonde. You can see all the resources that are available to students, sewing machines, VR goggles, 3D printers, all different kinds of things at Lassonde. But switching focus to a different degree, the Bachelor of Science in Games and the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. So at University of Utah, computer science is nearly a top 50 program, but there's also a Bachelor of Science in Games, and University of Utah, the video game development program is top 3 in the US, top 5 in the world. All right. So if you're interested in video games, especially if you're interested in designing and developing video games, please look no further than the University of Utah. It's a very, very good program here. There are two different kinds of game degrees. So there's the BS in Games, which is more a degree, less technical. So not as much programming, not as much technical stuff, but for students who just want to work in the video game industry. There's also the BS in Computer Science. You see at the top, the Entertainment Arts and Engineering emphasis. This is a program for students who want to study computer science with the goal of designing and developing video games. So you will focus very heavily on aspects of programming that are related to gaming. But either way, they're both excellent degrees for students who are interested in the gaming industry. It just depends what aspect of the gaming industry you are interested in. To go along with computer science, Utah is very well known now for this area called Silicon Slopes, which is basically a long stretch that encompasses Salt Lake City, but goes south and north of the city as well. But basically, it's home to many, many, many tech companies, many different tech companies. So some companies you've probably heard of, others maybe you've never heard of, more new, startup type companies. I mean, I can see on here one you've definitely heard of, Rakuten Media Forge. But throughout the Salt Lake area, this is kind of where all the opportunities for students come into play, because many of these companies are very new companies and they're actively looking to hire students, maybe for internships, but also for jobs after graduation. So especially for computer science students, there are lots and lots of opportunities all across the Salt Lake City area. In addition to business and computer science, there's also the College of Engineering. So Utah has very, very good engineering programs, and Utah is a top research university, So basically what that means is Utah gets lots and lots of money for research at both the undergraduate and the graduate level. So even if you're an undergraduate student, you can still do research in the area that you're studying. Utah has the distinction of being part of the Association of American Universities. So this is a very, very small group, very small group of very, very good universities in the US. As you can see on the screen, some of the members of this group are basically the best universities in the US, Harvard and MIT and Stanford and Yale. And right there along with them is the University of Utah as part of this group of leading research universities. So there's all different kinds of research that goes on campus, whether you're an engineering student, a history student, an art student, plenty of opportunities to do research in something that you're interested in. To give you some examples of things that go on in the biomedical engineering department, professor has developed the Luke arm, a prosthetic arm for people who have lost their limbs. It is called the Luke arm after Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. It's very similar kind of type thing. So this is something that was developed at the University of Utah. Also a professor in the electrical and computer engineering department working on developing a lensless camera. So these are just a couple examples of the kind of research that goes on at the university, but there are many more, and all different kinds of things going on. So again, I talked a little bit about the beginning about Salt Lake City, and while it's not, it's certainly not the first city that comes to anyone's mind when you think about job opportunities in the US. Forbes, one of the leading business magazines in the US, Forbes magazine, recently ranked Utah the #1 state in the US for business. So, not New York, not LA, not Chicago, Utah. Or I guess I just named 3 cities, but you know what I mean. So Utah is a really great place to build a career, even if it's not in the tech industry. There are plenty of other industries in Salt Lake City, especially biomedical industry is very big there. Many different businesses are now headquartered in Salt Lake City. So a lot to do regardless of what you are studying at the university. Here are some examples of some companies where University of Utah graduates work. So of course, these are mostly bigger companies that many people know, but there are certainly plenty of smaller companies, startup companies that many students go to not just do internships for, but also work for after graduation. So switching gears a little bit, talking about student life. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, there are literally hundreds of clubs and organizations on campus, all different kinds of things that you can get involved with. So maybe it's something related to academics that furthers your interest in that area, or maybe it's just something like a sports club that you do to pass the free time and meet new people. All different kinds of things you can do. In terms of things to do off campus, again, Salt Lake City is a very big city. There's many things going on. There's art, there's theater. I showed you earlier, there are professional sports teams, shopping, restaurants, all different kinds of stuff that you can do in Salt Lake City. And quick trips, Salt Lake is a great place for quick trips, whether it's especially if you like skiing and snowboarding during the winter. Closest mountains are less than an hour away. Very easy to finish class on a Tuesday and then an hour and a half later be at the top of the mountain with your skis on. If you're not a skier, there's still plenty of things you can do. There's hiking, there's mountain biking, there are the national parks I mentioned. There is also, let's skip that and go right to this one for a second. There's the Olympic Park. So the Salt Lake City Olympics, which I believe were in 2002, they still have much of that infrastructure set up, and it's a place where, you know, people can go and do all different kinds of fun activities, you know, very cool things that you can experience. Talking about on-campus life, I mean, I'm a sports person, so I put a lot of sports pictures, but, you know, Utah has very popular football team. I think they're like top 20 in the country. Basketball team you can go and see. Bottom right picture, they have an esports team. Esports is very active on campus. So a lot of different things that you can get involved with outside of the classroom. For housing, so as a University of Utah student, for your first year, you would live in housing provided by the university. There are a couple different kinds of rooms. Everything is on campus. Everything is quite nice, very comfortable. To kind of give you an example of the types of housing that's available, it's usually one of these two types of rooms. So either, you know, kind of a single suite style where you have your own bedroom, but you share kind of a little suite with another student, so you guys share a bathroom. Or there's also a double where you share a little suite with 4 students. But as you can see from the picture, you know, the rooms are very bright. They're very clean, at least before you get there. I don't know, depends what you do with it after you get there, but before you get there, they're very clean and very bright. And it's a very comfortable living situation for students. So talking about the entry requirements. So you see the academic entry requirements on the left. So for a US GPA, for direct entry, it's a 3.0 GPA. So for your Japan high school scores, if you're on Godankai, that would be a 4.0. For everything else, pathway, ESL entry, it's a 2.5 GPA or 3.5 out of 5. You see the IB scores as well. I don't know if anybody here is doing an IB curriculum. And then you can also see the English scores that are required for each program. So depending on your English, you know, there's a entry point for everyone pretty much. International Direct is direct entry, 2-term program. AAP is a 2-term pathway program. EAP is a 3-term pathway program. But all of these, direct, AAP, EAP, you can graduate in only 4 years. So being a pathway student does not mean that it takes you 5 years to graduate. Even if you do pathway, you still graduate in only 4 years. Talking about the dates and the costs. So I just put the international direct because I didn't want to throw up too many numbers on here, but you can see the deadlines. So for summer, the deadline is coming up very soon. There's still time to apply if you're interested in a summer start, but probably more realistic would be fall, where the deadline isn't until July. And then you see the start dates or the move-in dates where you move to campus, May 11th for summer, August 15th for fall. At the bottom, you see the tuition costs and the housing costs. So last thing I want to point out here about University of Utah, for the tuition costs, you see a big difference between a fall start and a summer start. The reason for this is because at University of Utah, this is very, very special, very, very special for University of Utah. At University of Utah, all students, international, in-state, out-of-state, pay in-state tuition for the summer, all right? So whereas the fall and spring, you're paying, you know, international student tuition, everybody pays in-state tuition in the summer. In-state tuition is quite cheap, or I don't want to say cheap, very affordable, very affordable. So if you start in the summer and do a 2-term program, so that's international direct or AAP, 2-term pathway, your tuition, your first year tuition will be much cheaper because you're only paying summer tuition and fall tuition. So you can see here, it's a difference of over $11,000 between fall and summer. So no, I'm going through this kind of fast, but certainly clarify it for you later. But basically, a summer start is very otoku if you can do summer start. If you don't have time, that's okay. But even down the road, you can take summer classes at Utah and always pay in-state tuition. It's a very, very good way to earn extra credits and maybe graduate early. Last but not least, while these are the costs that you see on the screen, we also offer scholarships at University of Utah, and it is a four-year scholarship at University of Utah. So it's not a full scholarship. It's not going to pay for everything, but it will be very helpful towards the cost of tuition. And it's good for years 1, 2, 3, 4, every year you're at the university. So, and it's all part of the application process. So thank you guys very much for listening. That is the end of my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions anybody has about anything. ありがとうございます。
マイクさん、ありがとうございます。はい、皆さん、大学のプレゼンテーションを聞いていかがでしたでしょうか。私も個人的にすごく大好きな大学なので、もうたくさんいいところを皆様にぎゅっと詰め込んでお伝えすると、先ほどトップ100位に入る大学ですよっていうふうにマイクさんが説明したと思うんですけれども、皆さんアメリカの大学が何校あるかご存知ですか？なんと4000校も実は存在するんですね。そのうちのトップ100ってなるともう本当に名門校の一つです。で、設備もすごく整っていますし、動画にもたくさん出てきたと思うんですけれども、ラボですね、起業家を目指しているようなどの専攻の学生でもいいんです。そのラボを使って自分のアイデアを出して学生のうちから大学の設備を使ってその資金を大学から援助してもらって自分で起業ができるという素晴らしい施設とプログラムを持っている。で、さらに、コンピューターサイエンス、エンジニアリング、理系に非常に強い大学なんですけれども、そのアメリカで65校しか入れないリサーチの大学に入っているので、政府からかなりの資金を援助があるということで、学部の時からいろんなプロジェクト、リサーチに関わっていけて、でさらに名門校から卒業する学生さんたちなので、卒業しても世界中で活躍をしている、しかも起業家が多い中の一人に入れるということは、卒業してからも何でしょう、その卒業生ネットワークで久々に友達と会った時に今こういうことしてるんだよって言ってまたつながれるチャンスも出てくるという、一生涯続いていくようなビジネスでもそうですし、友人が作れるというところでもこの学校はすごく魅力なんじゃないかなと思います。で、立地に関してもですね、ユタって、ハッピエストステートで2位に選ばれるぐらい失業率も低いですし、治安も非常にいいですし、今カリフォルニアの有名な企業もどんどん内陸に流れていくぐらい、物価もまだまだ安いですし、空気もきれいですし、都会もあるし、自然もすぐ近くにあって、もうすべてが揃っているような立地になるんですね。なので、実際、皆さんやっぱりカリフォルニアに行きたいっていう方すごくたくさんいらっしゃると思うんですけれども、以前、マイクさんじゃないんですけど、大学のスタッフと話をしたときにですね、この大学を卒業して仕事を得たのはいいけれども、もうユタが気に入りすぎて、今こういったオンラインでも仕事ができるような時代になってきたので、大きな企業で仕事をしてオンラインで実際に自分のいるのはユタ州で、大きなお家を借りて、いい生活をしながら自然の中でいい仕事ができるから、なんでユタを離れる必要があるんだって思って、ほとんどの学生さんが実はユタに残るらしいんですね。っていうぐらいやっぱり環境がすごく整っている大学の一つです。